G'day legends and welcome back to another review, and the legends from Slot Car Technology have sent me a pretty damn cool product to review. It's down here in its own little briefcase. You will need an app which is free, but this thing is pretty cool. It's called the LaBench V2. Well, what is it? Let's go take a look. So let's dive into the unboxing, and a massive thank you to Slot Car Technologies for sending this to me. It's the LaBench V2. Inside here is a pretty cool accessory that you might want to use in the slot car world. So let's go head first into the unboxing. We do have some instructions in multiple language. Of course, I will be using English. You will need to download a free app, which you'll see during the video, because you will need to use an app with this. And I do have a European version. This is a demonstration version for me to show off. So it's the European plug. You could probably order one for your country, but make sure first. But first, let's dive in to see what is in here. Now, this is the LaBench V2. Very cool looking device. Now, straight away, if you've been in the slot car game for a while, you know what this is going to be. It looks like a dyno, but it's a bit of everything in one. You can run motors on or off the car. You can set up the car on a setup block, which is pretty cool. We'll get into that in a tick, but I do like the choice of colors. Will it come in other colors? I do not know, but really cool. It is 3D printed. It will be running Bluetooth, so you will need the app, but you will see this thing is pretty damn handy. We'll talk more about this in a tick, but I want to show you what else is in here. You do have a charger. Now, the device itself, the LaBench, can run off its own LiPo, not included in the box. So this can be ran wirelessly, I guess you could say, out on the field, which is really cool. Little section underneath, you unscrew it, you put the right LiPo in there, and you do have the charger for that with its own plug. Of course, remember, or the one that suits your country. You do have these two little clips, negative and positive. This is to run a motor in that's off the car. So if you don't have, or if you've got a stack of motors that you want to run in and they're not fitted to a car, well, this is how you can do it. You plug it into where you need to at the back here, negative and positive, and you then clip it onto a motor and off she goes. Now, there is a function on the LaBench that allows you to run in the car and the motor itself, and I'll show you that in a tick. A really cool function, and also the plug. So there we go. So now let's set it up. I'll get the app up and running. I will be filming the app as well to show you how it works. But let's dive into a test run of the LaBench. So let's take a close look at the LaBench V2, how it is made. It is 3D printed. This has got two slide outs, top and bottom, which shows you a setup plate underneath. And you do have one at the front as well, another little setup plate with some measurements. How is this ran? Well, you've got your negative and positive like you'd find on a slot car track. And you do have a base for your wheels to hang over the edge. A recommendation I will make to the team is I think this needs to be made just a little bit skinnier, this section here, and maybe the pads need to be a little bit higher just to make sure you get the clearance. But again, I could be using it wrong. I don't think I am, but that's my only recommendation when it comes to how would you make this better. A 124 scale car has no real problems when it comes to the rear of how it sits. But if you have a 132 car like the F2, which is quite skinny, you will be getting really close to the edges. And remember, this may move around if you're doing a bench run-in, so a motor run-in. So that's my only concern with this, is the pads at the end. Would I like to see that changed? I definitely think I would, but how would I change it? Well, that's something I have to discuss with the team to see what they think best suits it. Other than that, it is a really cool product. You will need an app, which let's talk about that app right now. Here it is. This is the LaBench. I've been giving it some berries whilst I've been off camera. Now, you can find this for Android and iPhone. It is now available worldwide. Once I got the LaBench, it was not available in Australia. Yes, it is now, which is exciting. We do have a couple of different modes, which we will run through tests on. We've got manual mode, which is how you can adjust the power yourself. Basically, this is for, I guess, understanding the car, what's in it, and knowing that the motor that's in it is exactly what you think. And what I mean by that is if this car has a 17K motor, well, this should read 17,000 RPM. The voltage will come up, the current will come up, and so will the power. It tells you what the motor is doing at different power intervals, which is really cool to see. It's good to know that the motor you've got is doing what it should be. That's your manual mode. Your auto mode, this will give you a test bench, so you have a light test. This will put it through a 15-second lap, so it'll be on, off like you're racing. Really cool function. 15 seconds, then it will stop. And then you'll go to the Simu Drive, which is a proper race mode. So this would do infinity loops, so it would do as many laps as you want, but only at 13-second intervals, again with on-off power, which I will demonstrate that with the app itself. And again, all the same readouts, which is good that they keep this part similar, so each part of the app you're in doesn't change. So that is auto mode. Then we go to run-in mode. I like this function. On the bench, you will find little plugins at the rear. We've got negative and positive. Now that's really cool, and here's your power. Better show you that. That's really cool because you do get these little puppies in the box. Negative and positive. What is that for, Trav? Well, that's to connect to a motor that is not attached to a vehicle. So if you want to run a motor in on its own and it's not attached to a vehicle, you simply put it on the negative and positive side of the motor, hit run in, make sure the motor is secure, and off she goes. Really cool function. I think that's very smart. So you can run the car in with the motor and a car without the motor, which is really cool. Let's go to let's talk about the motor mode. This is where you run the motor in that's affixed to the vehicle on the dyno itself or on the test bed itself, and you have different displays whilst it's running. Now we're not plugged in, so you won't be getting any reference on the screen, but we will see that in a tick in action. That's basically your app in a nutshell. I think it's quite cool. It's telling you what power the app itself or the bench itself will be pulling, some charge, and it is the Bench V2. Now, good thing about having an app, hopefully the legends at Slot Car Technologies, if they get any feedback, can update the app as it goes on. If the V3 comes out, do they just incorporate it into the V2 app? Who knows, but really cool. But now let's plug in the test bed and let's have a bit of a play. So the Bench V2 is plugged in. We are ready to go. We've got power. We need to connect the app, which is the Bench remote, which you can find that on your Apple iPhone store or your Android store. Now it will show a blank screen. Let's turn it on. Let's power it up. You'll see some flashy lights. There we go. And straight away, bang, there is your Bluetooth connection. Let's connect it. And it shouldn't take too long. And there we go. They're the functions that we looked at earlier. Now, there might be a blooper roll at the end of here because I did leave the base on. Now, I did tell you underneath here is your setup bench. Take the rear one off because you need the wheels to hang over. Don't do what I did and almost shot a car flying off. You can leave the front one on, but take the rear off. Now let's start with the 132 scale F2 kit by Pendle. Let's just get that seated and we'll go through the functions together. Let's go manual mode, which is where we'll find out what motor do we have. Now, we should know what it is when you purchase a car. Normally it's written on the box, but let's just make sure that the motor we've got is what it is. 100 power, 100%. It'll take a little bit of time to get us our RPM reading. It'll flash on and off. So then we go at a 19.5 or 19K motor. Once it gets a reading, maybe it's a 20K. It's a 20K motor, and you can see what voltage we are pulling. 12 volt. We're running at 12 amp, and we've also, 0.12 amp, and we've got 1.44 watts of power. Really cool to see that. So it will go up and down because the motor will be giving off different readings, but we've got a 20K motor. So that is your manual mode. Now I'll just turn it down first. I don't like stopping it straight away. Don't want to damage anything. So let's turn that off. So that is your manual mode. That works with 132 and the big boy, 124. Let's use the full earth prototype. This one's gonna get a bit noisy, and let's go full balls. And we've also got I believe this is a 21K without looking, and it's reading 20.6. So let's slow that down. Of course, it's pulling more power, which is interesting. That was 0.3. Let's have a look again. 4. So this motor pulls more power. Let's stop that. I shouldn't have done it like that, but let's have a quick look. It doesn't say what mode is in that, but there you go, 21K motor. Let's go back to the little guy. This one's a little bit quieter. So that is your manual mode. Testing the bench, whatever power you want to do, 10%, 20%. Let's go auto mode. This is where you can do a light test. I'll quickly give a demonstration with the 132 scale. This is going to be a sequence of 15 seconds. So let's go light test. Let's hit start. And this will go through some motions. Stop, start. It's mimicking you driving the car for 15 seconds. Stop, and then it will take off again. And you can also do a simu drive, which is a simulation drive. This is an infinity loop with 13 seconds, and let's go. We'll do a couple of these. So we're going through corners here, we're backing off. we're coming out into a straight, going through corners, and that will do that every 13 seconds endlessly. And if you want to record that, it can tell you what your motor's doing, the current, the voltage, and the power that it's pulling during a simulation race. So let's stop that. Let's move on to the run-in. Now the run-in selection, let's select the short run. And this is going to give us 30 minutes of a increase of run-in. So this is going to run the motor in that's affixed to the car. So over 30 minutes, it'll increase its speed and power, and this would do it, and you've got the same kind of readouts like we did before, which I'm glad they keep the interface the same. And this will do it over 30 minutes. What's the point of this? It breaks your motor in. So when you buy a brand new car, the best thing to do is break that motor in. So when you go racing, it's already had some time put on it, and you've sort of, I guess, you've brought the best out of the motor that you can. Now, when you buy a motor, some are hit and miss, some are hot, some are cold, and this will just determine how good this motor will go. If it's a 20K motor and you start getting 21K out of it, well, you know you got yourself a little bit of a gem. So that's a 30-minute run-in. Let's go to the long run-in, and you can stop that mid-course. Now this one to me is very extreme, but it's 6 hours, again, increment time. I'll start it and talk to you. I guess this would be good to test if a motor or a brand of motor will be good for an endurance race. Would you use that motor straight after? You probably would. But if you want to do an endurance race and you want to try a brand of motor, I guess this will put it through its tests. So we'll stop that. We're not going to sit here for 6 hours. And last but not least, which I think I got this mixed up in the app section, last but not least is your motor run-in that's off the car. Yes, I did show this before. Here's your plug-ins, plugs it into the machine at the rear, and you get your negative and positive, which you clip onto your motor, your negative and positive of the end of the motor. And this will run a motor that is either off the car or you've got it on a run-in motor bench itself. It's affixed to something else. So it doesn't have to be in the car for you to run the motor in. So if you've got a box full of motors and you want to see which one's your best, well, this is the way to do it. Same thing again, you can start it, you do your progression, your power. You've got a couple of different open references. Now I can't show you this because I don't have a motor to do it with, but it will give you different readouts. Open measure and your open reference, it will give you all different kinds of readouts over up to a 32K motor, which is pretty serious stuff. So as you can see, 32K, yeah, we're getting hoofing up there. So there you go, that is your LeBench Remote V2 functions. And I think this is a pretty cool bit of kit. So that's a wrap on my review of the LeBench V2 by Slot Car Technologies. This little guy has come all the way from France, so I do want to thank the team for trusting in me in reviewing this, what I call pretty incredible device, and something that I think that you could probably use at home in your slot car world. I want to make a quick disclaimer. I am not paid or sponsored by Slot Car Technologies. I did reach out to them and say, hey, I think this is quite cool. I think this could be used around the world, and I believe my viewers would like to see something like this on the channel. And here it is, the review copy. So thank you very much to Slot Car Technologies. What are my thoughts? What would I change? Again, I'm not a professional when it comes to this, but some of the stuff that I found that I think could make it a little bit better is the tongue being a bit skinnier, just so you know you've got the width for the tires. And these pads are just a little bit too soft to my liking, where the car will sink and it may want to dance around. But did I have many issues with it at all? Not at all. This is a solid little device, and the app itself was flawless. I never had an issue with the app, and that does work worldwide. What is my favorite function? Well, by far the motor break-in, whether it's in the car or off the car. Off the car, you use these two little plug-ins here. That's essential in our world. Whether it's a race car or not a race car, you buy a car, chuck it on there, you'll know what motor's in it, you'll know if it is running at its peak performance, and you'll know if you actually have a dud or a hot motor, so whether it runs slower than it should or it runs quicker than it should. And that should be, I think every car that you get should be tested on this. So really cool little device. But what's your thoughts? I'd like to know. But as always, at That Slot Car Guy on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and sometimes TikTok. I want to say a big thank you to you all for tuning in. This thing is really, really cool. And if you do like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. I am reaching out to companies all the time to try and review some of their amazing products. But be safe, take care, support your local. Bye.